Since 8th grade, my closest friend Stella and I had made a solemn promise to be each other's prom dates, a vow sealed in blood, and one we were determined not to break. Our story unfolds in January, marking the start of a new year and a fresh semester at school. As we made our way to the cafeteria one day, Stella suddenly grimaced in pain, clutching her knee in agony. It was so severe that she lost her footing and tumbled to the floor. Reacting swiftly, I extended my hand and helped her back up, deeply concerned by the pallor on her face. "Stella, are you okay?" I inquired with worry, hoping that perhaps it was just hunger or fatigue. She sat down, resting her hands on her knees for a few moments before she finally mustered a response. "Ellie, something's seriously wrong with me. My knee has been throbbing ever since I took that kick during the soccer game 2 weeks ago," she admitted, her voice quivering. Without hesitation, I suggested that we grab a meal and find a place for her to sit and rest. However, Stella had other plans. She insisted on heading to the school's office, located just across the hallway from the lunchroom. Despite my attempts to persuade her otherwise, she was resolute. "I need to see the nurse," she declared as she continued to limp towards the office. Reluctantly, I accompanied her part of the way before she urged me to go ahead to the cafeteria. "You should grab some lunch," she advised, her determination unwavering. Sadly, Stella never made it to join me for lunch that day. Instead, her mother arrived early to pick her up and rushed her to the hospital. Throughout the day, I anxiously sent her text messages, fervently hoping for a response that would ease my growing concern about her well-being. It wasn't until around 8:30 that evening that Stella finally replied to my messages. She sent me a series of MRI images, displaying her knee, lungs, and neck all riddled with ominous spots. Perplexed by what I was seeing, I responded with a question mark. Almost immediately, my phone buzzed again. Stella initiated a FaceTime call, and as I accepted, her face came into view for the first time since lunch. While her complexion had regained some color, she appeared fatigued. Concerned, I blurted out a barrage of questions. "Hey, what's wrong? Have you seen a doctor? Are you sick?" Tears welled up in Stella's eyes, and her disheveled hair framed her face. It was difficult for her to speak as she looked at the screen. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and with a trembling voice, she finally managed to reveal the painful truth: "I have cancer." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks, and she broke down into sobs. The images she had sent were scans of her body, revealing tumors in several places. She continued between sobs, "They told me I might not make it to graduation." The call ended abruptly, leaving only the echoes of Stella's distressing cries and the soothing words of her mother in the background as she tried to console her. Unable to bear listening to my best friend's suffering over the phone, I made a snap decision to drive to her house, even though it was late and I risked missing curfew. I needed to be with her, to offer comfort, and to hold her close, just in case time ran out. At her front door, I didn't bother knocking. I burst inside and rushed to her room. Her mother embraced her, and I joined in, tears flowing freely. After a while, when emotions had somewhat settled, Stella turned to me and whispered, "I have to start chemo next week." I nodded, at a loss for words. Gripping her hand tightly, I silently conveyed my unwavering support. As the months passed, Stella made progress, but her battle was far from over. The tumors were gradually shrinking, and some of the chemotherapy treatments were showing promise. However, the ordeal continued to take its toll on her daily life. With only a few days left until the prom, I felt a surge of excitement, knowing I could finally choose a corsage to adorn her wrist. Stella was doing well enough that her doctor granted her permission to attend the dance, with the condition that she sit for most of the time and refrain from energetic dancing. She was content with these limitations, and so was I. My other close friend, Charles, and I embarked on a quest to find the perfect dress for Stella. She had decided on a maroon dress, and she wanted me to match its shade with my tuxedo. Little did I know, finding the exact color match was a challenge. As we perused the 57th Tux rental store, my phone suddenly began to ring. It was Stella's mom on the other end of the line. My voice quivered as I answered. "Hi, Ellie. Stella is back in the hospital," she informed me. "She wants you to come up as soon as you can." Without a moment's hesitation, I said my goodbyes to Charles and hurriedly left the store. Charles intercepted me, insisting that I at least rent my tuxedo. I explained to him that Stella was in the hospital and might not even make it to the prom. His response was a broad, beaming grin as he seized the nearest tuxedo. "We'll take this one," he declared, ushering me toward the counter. I protested that it wasn't the right color, but Charles had a plan. "It doesn't matter. If Stella can't come to the prom, we'll bring the prom to her." It sounded like an incredible idea. That night, Charles and I visited Stella in the hospital. Her condition was grave, her eyes sunken with dark circles beneath, and her hair thinning and disheveled. I approached her mother and made a heartfelt request, asking her to ensure Stella felt beautiful when we returned the next day. Puzzled, she inquired why, and I whispered our plan. We were going to organize the most magnificent prom party imaginable for Stella. Her mother's face lit up with a smile I hadn't seen in months. She enveloped me in a warm hug and planted a grateful kiss on my cheek. "You are a beautiful person, Ellie. We love you," she said. I replied, "I love you too," as I walked away. Now it was time to orchestrate the dream prom that Stella deserved. That very night, I logged onto Facebook and extended invitations to all of Stella's closest friends, inviting them to be a part of the extraordinary prom we were planning in her honor. I made a trip to Target, stocking up on string lights and a plethora of streamers. Then, I headed to the florist to select a stunning corsage for the most exquisite girl in the world. We had encouraged everyone to don their prom attire for the upcoming night because we were determined to throw a party, whether Stella could attend the prom or not. She deserved to be treated like royalty. Although some declined our invitation due to their own prom commitments, many of our closest friends eagerly accepted and even offered to bring food, drinks, and other essentials to ensure Stella felt like the extraordinary person she was. Charles came over the next afternoon, and we loaded his truck with all the supplies we had gathered in the past day and a half, including a Bluetooth speaker and a fog machine Charles had unearthed from his sister's room. Dressed in our tuxedos, we double-checked that everyone who had RSVP'd was still on board, even Charles's girlfriend, who had kindly picked up Stella's dress from her home and was preparing to style her hair and makeup for the occasion. I couldn't wait to witness the astonishment on Stella's face when we arrived. She had texted me throughout the night, expressing her sadness about missing the dance and urging me to go without her. I assured her that it wasn't going to happen and encouraged her to be happy, assuring her that I would see her tomorrow. She had no inkling of the surprises we had in store, and I was eagerly anticipating the moment of revelation. The journey to the hospital was charged with anticipation. Stella's mother greeted us at the front entrance to assist with taking down the decorations. Stella had been relocated to another room for some tests, providing us with a window of opportunity to set everything up before her return. In less than half an hour, the hospital room was aglow with the shimmer of lights, adorned with enchanting blue and green streamers that draped across the bed and windows. Charles had set up the smoke machine, but the doctor had advised against using it, so we reluctantly left it turned off. Soft music filled the room, and we cleared some space by shifting furniture and medical equipment to create a makeshift dance floor. When Stella arrived, although she appeared pale, her eyes lit up with wonder at the sight before her. Overwhelmed, she began to cry. "Guys, I'm not dressed for prom," she giggled, and then she approached me for a hug. I reassured her, "It's okay. We have everything you need right here. Take your time. Nova will help you with your makeup and your dress. We'll wait out here as long as you need." It felt like an eternity, although it was likely only around 20 minutes later when Stella emerged from the hospital bathroom. Her hair was elegantly braided around the crown of her head, and her stunning maroon dress clung to her in all the right places. It glistened with sparkles, making her eyes radiate. It was in that moment that I realized I was in love with Stella. Everything else seemed to fade away when she walked out of that bathroom. I was simply overjoyed to see her so happy. I walked toward her, embracing her warmly. I took her hand in mine and whispered, "I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have you as my prom date," before placing the corsage gently on her wrist. Charles got the party started, and we all began to dance, snack, and exchange jokes about how dull the official prom was probably going to be. After an hour, I noticed that Nathan was struggling to keep up. "Hey, you can sit down if you need to," I suggested. I helped her into a chair, and she appeared pale once again. Concerned, I asked, "Are you okay?" She waved me off, saying, "Yes, I'm fine. It's just all the medicine and tests today. I'm tired. I'm having a great time, and I'm so happy and so grateful that you did this, Ellie. I really appreciate it. I love you." Although she meant I love you as a friend, it sent butterflies swirling in my stomach. "I love you too, Stella," I replied, and there must have been a look in my eyes that conveyed my feelings weren't just platonic, because she leaned in to kiss me. It was my first time kissing a girl, and I had never really thought about it before. But as our lips met, it felt so right, like finding home in a person. I didn't want to break her heart, even though I knew it wasn't the right time for such intimacy. Stella seemed unbothered by the circumstances, and we pulled back from the kiss, both wearing smiles. She rested her head on my chest, and together, we watched the other couples dance and playfully throw popcorn at each other from across the room. Looking back on that night, I felt a deep sense of happiness knowing I had granted Stella's wish to be my prom date. Once everyone had left, Stella and I cuddled on her bed a bit longer. We exchanged more kisses, and I told her once again that I loved her. She pulled me into her embrace, and we lay there, gazing into each other's eyes. Eventually, we both settled down. Stella prepared to sleep, and I prepared to head home. Her mom came in and jokingly scolded me, telling me to leave before the night nurses had a reason to yell at me. We hugged, and I left her house, feeling triumphant and ready to face the world. At 7 o'clock the next morning, I received a call from Stella's mother. She informed me that Stella had passed away during the night, shortly after I had left the hospital. Her words left me speechless and in shock. I had planned to visit the hospital that day and bring Stella some books she had wanted to read. There was a big pile of new bestsellers on my desk, waiting to be delivered. I wasn't much of a reader myself, but those books shattered my heart. I couldn't contain my emotions, and tears streamed down my face. It was the hardest I had cried since childhood, but it felt good to release my pent-up feelings. I was in the midst of my emotional breakdown when my mother entered my room and found me lying on the floor in a fetal position. Horrified, she asked, "What's wrong, Ellie?" I could barely form the words through my sobs. "Stella is dying. She's gone." Stella was not just my best friend, she was my other half and my one true love. I know it might sound cliché, but that's what she was to me. I had just realized over the weekend that I loved her more than anything else in the world. Stella was a constant presence in my life. She never gave up on me, always sharing in my passions and dreams just as fervently as she pursued her own. I will forever cherish the moments I spent with Stella on her last night, surrounded by our friends, making unforgettable memories. That night, I'll never forget the radiant smile on her face and the deep love in her eyes. Even though I now have to navigate the rest of my life without my other half, I know I'll find a way to carry on. Stella's family will always hold a special place in my heart, and I hope they'll continue to include me in their lives. After all, I do make some incredible hamburgers. Stella embodied qualities of caring, gentleness, and a willingness to embrace new experiences. Today, I encourage all of you to try to be a little more like Stella. I want to express my gratitude to all of you for being here today. As I delivered my eulogy at Stella's funeral, my gaze couldn't help but fixate on the beautiful senior picture chosen for her memorial. In the photograph, her long, cascading blonde hair framed her face, and her brilliant blue eyes sparkled in the warmth of the autumn sun. This picture was one of her favorites, and I'm thankful it was shared with everyone to remember her by. Over a year has passed since Stella's passing, and I'm still in the process of healing from the loss of my dearest friend. Stella's parents are doing as well as can be expected. We continue to gather every weekend to enjoy board games and savor burgers, a tradition we've upheld. I hope that in the years to come, we can maintain this strong bond, and I hope that whoever becomes a part of my life will possess even a fraction of the incredible qualities that Stella embodied. I am certain that Stella watches over us from above, offering her guidance and love as we move forward.